he will join us. Good morning, gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all of you. And at the outset, let me thank each one of you for sparing time on this Sunday morning and joining this panel discussion on Union Budget 2025, which was unveiled last morning by our Finance Minister. And for the audience, let me give you a context of this panel discussion. This panel discussion is not intended to summarize the entire budget speech because we feel it's not possible to do so. We won't be doing justice if we attempt to do it. It's a very cumbersome document, and also the consequences and repercussions of all these measures cannot be encapsulated in just 45 minutes to 1 hour. So we will be just restricting ourselves on few issues for which we have experts in the panel. And also, uh, there will be certain matters on which perhaps in the finance budget speech, there was not much clarity, for example, with respect to taxation. And for a reason, because all those at the granular level comes much later in the finance budget speech. You can't have all that. So our experts will be dealing with those granular level details. And apart from that, we have experts from the industry and also the tax experts who would share their point of view. Right. So with that, let me start introducing this distinguished panel. I'll start with Suraj. Suraj is the managing director and CEO of Binav. Binav is a fintech in the payment sector, and he has co-founded Binav in the year 2016. And since then, Binav has managed to carve its own niche in within the payment sector and has really grown in this last 7, 8 years. Prior to Binav, Suraj was throughout in the sales. He's a hardcore, quintessential salesperson who has headed national sales teams for brands like Pine Lab, Reliance Mutual Fund, Bharti AXA, Loyalty Rewards, etc. And yes, thank you so much, Suraj. Welcome.
Pleasure, pleasure, always, as always.
Yeah. The next expert in the panel is Mr. Dilip Gupta. Dilip Gupta is a GST guy. He has GST for breakfast every morning. He is the partner with Maheshwari and Company. He's a chartered accountant, and he joined Maheshwari and Company around 8 years back. Prior to that, Dilip Gupta was in the industry. He was leading the finance department for in the hospitality sector. So it's a right blend of uh, industry experience and also the bookish understanding of the GST law that we have in the panel today. Welcome, Dilip. Yeah, and of course, I forgot to mention that Dilip is also pursuing his law LLB to perhaps meet his long fetched dreams of going on in litigation one day. So once again, welcome, Dilip. The
Thank you.
next expert in the panel is Mr. Pankaj Jaiswal. Pankaj Jaiswal is a chartered accountant, and he's the CFO for Air India SATS. Now, even though Pankaj is a chartered accountant, but he likes to be referred as an economist, and rightly so. He has authored a very profound book on economics, which is titled as Sanatan Arthashastra, which is also available in English. In English, the title is Eternal Economics. And Pankaj is, apart from this, Pankaj is also very actively involved in the in UP development mission, wherein he acts like a catalyst to connect the UP government and the UP chief minister to the UP diaspora, and is also um, uh, uh, a policy influencer in Bodoland region of Assam. Also, he is a active contributor in the Samna newspaper, which comes from Mumbai, the Hindi edition of Samna. So a very warm welcome to you as well, Pankaj. Our next panelist is Mr. Santosh Singh. Now, like Dilip Gupta eats GST for breakfast, Santosh Singh eats the capital market for his dinner. And with his experience of almost 20 years in the capital market, he can actually see through the ups and downs of capital market the way nobody can. And rightly so, he was consecutively for 3 years adjudged as number one analyst in India. Santosh is a chartered accountant. He is also a CFA and was in Motilal Oswal AMC Asset Management Company for 6 years, managing three humongous funds. He was also the research head for the second largest firm in China, which is called Hai Tong. Is that right pronunciation, Santosh?
Yeah.
Okay, I memorized it. So yeah, so this is Santosh, and he will be he as I said, he's a capital market expert, and we will be relying on him to get more insights with respect to that.
Thanks, Prince.
The, yes. So the fifth panelist is still not arrived. He'll be there in next 2-3 minutes. So before that, let us do one thing. Let us start the discussion, and as he comes, I'll be introducing him as well. Right. So let me start with Dilip. So Dilip, we actually in the budget speech we could not hear anything about GST, right? But I'm sure that in the fine print there will be mention of GST and measures that are taken, amendments in GST. So can you just take us through at least broadly the major amendments in GST?
Okay.
We could not hear anything about GST, right? But I'm sure that in the fine print there will be mention of GST and measures that are taken, amendments in GST. So can you just take us through at least broadly the major amendments in GST?
Okay. Thank you, Prince, for giving an opportunity. Basically, in GST, so there is a mechanism wherein the GST Council has to take the decision, whereas they have to take the decision unanimously and then propose to the this August House of Parliament for their approval. Since it is a GST Council matter, however, there are certain amendment has been proposed in the budget after this 55th GST Council meeting. So some of the highlight I am just going to elaborate here. One is related to the vouchers. Though normally you see a lot of vouchers we can maybe get from the supermarket or is a gift or other related issue, wherein there was issue related to how to tax this voucher and when to tax and what is the time of supply this voucher. So in case of goods, there was clarity in sense when you buy the voucher, you know the product and then the product rate will be the tax rate for the purpose of voucher and time of supply will be the date on which you're buying the voucher. However, in case of services, there is a issue related to what tax rate to be charged, where this voucher going to be sell. So according to this, remove this anomaly, the finance minister proposed under section 13(4), there is a amendment in this. There will be no supply of selling of this voucher in case of services. So the tax will be levied at the time of settlement of this voucher. So this is the welcome amendment wherein there are a lot of confusion in this regard. This is one most important amendment according to me. This is my personal opinion, however. Another most important amendment in the law, wherein recently Supreme Court has given a verdict in the case of safari retreat case, wherein there is a construction related activity which is own account. Own account in the sense you are developing the plot or mall or maybe commercial premises for letting out or maybe for the purpose of giving on rent or lease basis. According to that, the industry demand was to get the input tax credit. So there is a anomaly, say, or drafting error, or maybe some purposely put into the GST law, wherein they have defined that plant and machinery or plant or machinery. So one section is related to work contract, where the plant or machinery has been written. In the one section of 15(5)(d), wherein the plant and or machinery has written. So plant or machinery means the plant is different than machinery. Accordingly, the input tax credit has been demanded on considering that is a plant, because I am constructing for the purpose of furtherance of business or getting some rental out of it. So accordingly, the Supreme Court, of course, the going to the Supreme Court, it take lot of time, lot of effort, and lot of energy. So accordingly, the decision has been decided on last month itself. So wherein the input tax credit was allowed by the Supreme Court. So this amendment is a retrospective amendment from 1st July 2017, whereas this anomaly has been removed, and the word has been now plant and machinery, both the places. So accordingly, to nullify this Supreme Court judgment, so government has amended the law accordingly. Now the input tax credit is not available in the case of construction of immobile property, wherein you are eventually going to use for furtherance of business. So accordingly, this is the judgment where industry specifically related to this construction will be affected more. So this is the another judgment. Third is related to that's important judgment, which is 34(2) related to input credit notes. So credit notes basically they want credit note to be like in the case, just give a background of it. Credit note, in the case of credit note, there is a if suppose I issue a credit note, I reduce my liability, but other person has not reduced the liability. So accordingly, the government want to reduce the other person of this input tax credit is claimed on this invoice, wherein eventually credit note has been issued. So accordingly, government want to reduce this input tax credit through some mechanism. So they have in IMS mechanism, where the invoice management system they are going to introduce. Accordingly, this amendment has been brought into. Then related to GSTR 3B. So basically 2B and 3B. So 2B basically wherein input tax credit has been given by the other person who is the seller basically, or the input service provider. So that input credit is eventually they furnish in the form of GSTR 1, then become GSTR 2A, and eventually become a GSTR 2B. Accordingly, the input tax credit to be reflected in GSTR 3B for the payment of input tax for the payment of liability from the input tax credit. So accordingly, the mechanism has been developed wherein the IMS invoice furnishing facility, yeah, invoice management system. According to that, the input tax credit will be decided on the basis of eligibility, not eligibility, or other requirement where the input tax credit is legitimately available to this person. Then I think the major amendment, according to me, one more most important amendment wherein industry will be going to affect much. It is related to pre-deposit in case of appeals. So there is a first appeal. First appeal means commissioner appeals, wherein 10% deposit had to be made in the case of first appeal, and this amendment is related to where the appeal is related to other than tax, for example, penalty. So in this case, the new amendment has come that then accordingly 10% has to be deposit for penalty as well. Means the earlier in as of now in the taxation system, that pre-deposit only on the tax part, not on the penalty part. Now this is the unique amendment wherein the 10% has to be deposit in the penalty as well. In the case of only penalty, you are going to appeal. Similarly, the amendment has been happened in the next forum where the tribunal appeal is there. So in case of tribunal appeal, you have to consider for 10% more in case of taxation and 10% more in the case of penalty as well, in the cases where the only penalty is going to be contested in the higher forum. So in a nutshell, there is a 10% on tax and 10% on penalty if tax is not there, and similarly 10% more in the case of tribunal appeal. Uh, there are some more mechanism where the tax evasion to be avoided by the or to be can be captured, or can be the cases where the some tax evasion has been happened as the on the according to the government. So where they are developing a mechanism that they can have it some tagging system on the goods or commodity, where they can track this goods from where to where is going. So there is a mechanism called track and trace. So the mechanism will be developed, and accordingly the new section has been introduced in the this budget. So this last one, I'll just brief. There is some issue related to movement of goods between like in a port, one SEZ to another SEZ, or one bonded warehouse to another bonded warehouse. In this case, there was a issue related to levying of GST input, GST by the department, or they issue the notices on this basis. Now this is a welcome amendment where this is a no supply until unless you are using for the DTA, domestic supply, and also for clearing for export, or maybe export or whenever the actual consumption will be happen, accordingly tax will be levied, not before this. So this is the brief I would gather from this budget as regard to GST. Thank you. Over to you, Prince.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dilip. I think this was good enough. I just have one comment. I think this business of overturning the judgments of Supreme Courts and courts by passing a legislation has to stop, because I remember a similar thing happened in case of Vodafone, if you remember, right? And this has been happening. It's not something which is just last 1 or 2 decades thing. It has always been happening. That we are in a in a tradition of changing the law itself if Supreme Court feels something else, right? So yeah, so thank you so much, Dilip, for this. And
only
let
one
me
thing, some similarly happened in the case of Mohit Mineral, wherein the Supreme Court judgment in related to the freight GST on freight export of goods.
Yes.
So that is the another the law has changed accordingly.
No. I mean, this has always been happening. We have even changed constitutions in the past to overturn the Supreme Court judgment. So yes. Let me now introduce Mr. Pramod Damankar is come, our fifth panelist. Mr. Pramod Damankar is a chartered accountant and is in practice for the last 33 years. He is not just a chartered accountant, he's a company secretary and also an LLB. And he has held key positions in the institute, like that of chairman of Vasai chapter of WIRC. And Mr. Damankar is one stop for anything related to direct tax. So today he'll be dealing in direct tax and giving us insight into the facet of individual taxation, which was not very clear from the budget speech. Right. So welcome, Mr. Damankar.
Thank you so much, Prince, and to all of you.
And just one more thing I
Welcome,
want to tell on the introduction part. I missed to tell in case of Santosh Singh. There's currently Santosh Singh has founded his own organization, his own company, which is called Byte Ventures. So apologies for that, Santosh, and all the best for your venture. It is just, I think, 10 days old, right? Okay. Fine. So now let us start with Suraj. Suraj, I have a slightly long question for you, right? You can't escape.
Yeah.
So fintech and payments have been one of the fastest growing industries in India. We all know that. Was the industry expecting more attention itself in the budget, according to you?
Okay. So I'd like to contextualize my answer, and I'll maybe do it in three parts. I'll just start with why budget is so relevant. Budget as an event. Is it an event or a non-event? So long time ago, and because I'm among experts, you might find my answers to be more anecdotal in nature because I'm not a technical person, and I'm, already feeling out of place among so many chartered accountants and economists. So pardon me for the longer route that I'm taking to give this answer. Uh, See, there was a time when I was in the business development and sales side of asset management. We used to sell mutual funds, and I've worked with some of the largest globally and in India. Now, when the budgets were not really to the advantage of the salesperson of an asset management company, we would tell people, "Oh, it's a non-event. It's just it's just a statement of the government's receipts and expenditure or income and expenditure." That's the way we would like to put it across. But today, if you were to ask me, I think budget plays a very, very important role in terms of directionally giving us an idea in terms of what the politics and policy of the government is, right? And if you were to look at the policy part, I think the most important role that a budget today plays is it gives the industry as well as investors an idea in terms of what the mood of the government is regarding the industry. That's the first part. The second part is I'd like to spend a few seconds in terms of where fintech as an industry stands right now. So between over the last 4 years, starting 2020 to 2024, over 1.4 lakh crore of investments have come into fintech as an industry, both domestic investors and foreign investors. Now that's a significant fund flow. And considering the fact that fintech is tech intensive, in some cases hardware intensive and people intensive, it requires a significant amount of investments to really come in. The first half of 2024, you will see that these investments have dwindled and it's negative 43%. It has been 43% lesser than the previous year and 73% lesser than the year prior to that. Now, one of the reasons why we see this happening is because you would have seen some of the poster boys of the fintech world actually getting impacted by regulatory action, right? And rightfully so. Here I'm not trying to put the regulator at, in a spot. But the fact is that generally, from a sentiments perspective, investors today are a little skeptical in terms of, how the regulatory behavior is going to be and what is going to happen to their current investments, and hence a little muted when it comes to looking up at new investments. So this is the context that I wanted to set before we really get into the answer that you're actually looking for, Prince. Now, if you were to look at what is there and what is not there, what is there in the budget is I'd like to tag fintech along with the startup ecosystem. And from that perspective, I think one of the important pieces that has come in is that the credit guarantee scheme has, the expansion of the credit guarantee scheme from 5 crore to 10 crore definitely, has an impact, especially on fintechs which are operating in the maybe the credit space or the lending space. The fact that they're setting up a fund of funds, another 10,000 crore fund of funds for startup, would have an impact in terms of the fintech and payment space as well. Industry had actually asked for 1,000 crore fund to be set up. I think 1,000 crore is too low. I don't even know why somebody asked for 1,000 crore fund for an industry which is already had the appetite for about 1.4 lakh crore over the last 4 years. It's not really about a subsidy or a help. What I would have looked forward from the budget speech is actually a call out to payment in fintech as a sector to give them a comfort. And how would this have been done? For example, if you were setting up a fund of funds, there could have been a specific call out as to what part of this should actually be allocated to fintech as a sector, right? And this is very, very important because the government's belief, and in no measure, bringing down the influence that the government had on the way fintechs have grown. The support that the government has given in terms of the digitizing, in terms of digital payments, helping in terms of digital acceptance across the board, has really played a very, very important role in terms of how fintechs have grown in India. But having said that, considering the current sentiments, the prevailing sentiments, it is very, very important that a significant call out is done by the government towards this industry, contribution of this industry. The way digital payments have actually been democratized by a lot of these fintechs have played a very, very active role in doing so. The way credit distribution has actually happened, the way microfinance, has played a role in terms of influencing and touching the lives of Indians in tier 3, tier 4 cities. I think this really calls for a much better deal for fintech stroke payments as an industry. And I think from a sentiments perspective, it's been a little unfair to the industry. It could have been much better. We're not even looking at subsidies. I don't even believe that that's a way to run a business. But the fact is support in terms of any setup that you would do in terms of fund of funds and so on. And these actually helps the smaller disruptors, the smaller tech innovators who would come in and play a role. Right? So I think those are areas where I think it could have been much better.
Thank you so much, Suraj. I completely am aligned with your thoughts, and I've been a part of ecosystem, the startup ecosystem. And while it was not strictly payments, but we dealt with that industry even that time, right? So yes, so let me move now to Santosh. Santosh, you have seen and analyzed the ups and downs and rides of capital market the last 2 decades. What do you think are the prominent themes in the last budget, the union budget?
So thanks, Prince. And I think after Suraj and one of the sort of areas I have been really sort of invested heavily in my last 5 years has been fintech. So I've been a shareholder in multiple fintechs and quite significant chunks there. So one of the areas I like quite a lot. So it was quite an insightful one from Suraj. So I'll build on that and try to sort of do justice to what Suraj has already said. So first and foremost, before getting into what this budget has done, I'll try to sort of formulate it into areas like the background first, right? Because we need to first understand the background and then the sort of budget itself and then the implications of the budget. So starting with the background, see, if you would have seen 2021 budget and maintained for years now that there are times when the government changed tracks. And when the government changes tracks, and that those are visible in the budget announcements, because budget announcements are basically it's not I don't consider it as a big event. It's what the government is trying to do. They just show their show their hands that these are the areas they're trying to get into. So if you would have sort of looked at 2021 budget, and that was just after the COVID, right? And before that, what was missing was capex. But in 2021, you could clearly see that the government started focusing on capex. And specifically made in India, defense, railways, these were the sort of themes which were getting highlighted in the budget significantly. And the impact of that was that for 3 years, we have seen the market growing like anything. But at the same time, the stocks which were going up were linked with the capital goods space, defense, railways. These were the stocks which were going up like anything, right? Last and I don't know if you guys invest in the markets, but I've seen people who have invested in the market buying railway companies or buying defense companies saying that this is the 20-year sort of game plan. If you look at this budget and what it did last 3 years, what it did was the impact of that was that these segments did well, but the private capex didn't happen. Government spent a lot, but the private capex still has not happened. This other part of the implication was that there was a lot of stress building in the middle class and semi-urban and rural areas, and then which was visible with the numbers. If you look at our GDP growth rate is already touching around 6%, and that's not a great number for India. The other part is you're seeing the unsecured loans showing a lot of stress where stress build up. So what we have seen is a lot of stress getting built up in the rural and semi-urban areas, right? And the implication of that was that for last 3 years, the consumer stocks have not done anything. And last 1.5, 2 years, you would have seen microfinance stocks have just crashed. And what you have also seen is that banks have not delivered for last 1.5 year, right? This was a budget where the government has again changed track, right? I didn't see defense mentioned in the budget even once. Capex, the government planned Capex is now on a YOY, no growth, right? But what you would have seen is that the entire focus was on middle class, and I'm not a tax expert. Despite being a CA, my taxation is weak. So, but I could see that, and they highlighted that there is going to be almost like a 1 lakh crore of sort of savings into the hands of middle class Indians, because the 12 lakhs and lowers are the ones who are going to get those savings, right? The impact was visible yesterday itself in the stock markets, where you could see that all the consumer stocks were up, all the capex was down, right? So what I highlight is that this is a track changing budget again, because again the government has changed tracks. And if they remain on this track, then the market for next 2 to 3 years will show a significant churn from capex linked stock to consumption linked stock, which was the market between 2014 to 2020. Right, 2014, 2020, anyone in the market would always invest in Asian Paints, Nestle, HUL. 2020 or 24, they don't want to touch it. Those have become like something else. So again, that track can change in the capital markets. The other part which we need to remember as a background to this budget was that the growth in EPS, because that is the key sort of driver of the market. The growth in EPS has gone below 10%, right, which is not so great. Well, it's really bad. And if that happens, then the markets are not going to deliver because the expectations are very high. So if I'm from a capital market perspective, I would say that the budget is trying to tackle most of the right areas where there is a stress buildup, be it the consumption side, be it the rural or the middle class, because the divide in wealth has grown significantly in last 3 years, and that's generally because of the stock market movement, where the rich have become significantly richer and the poor have not gained, or even the middle class, because of the inflation, have not sort of only sort of lost money, right? So the budget is in the right direction, but if you are looking in the capital markets, next 1 or 2 years is going to be a lot of churn. Sectors will change, and at the same time, don't expect the returns which you expected in last 2 to 3 years. So you need to really start working on businesses rather than the stock markets. So this is more for people who are in business to stock markets half day. So it's the business which is going to make you money for next 2 or 3 years, not the stock markets, not to a large extent. So that's just a brief.
So thank you so much, Santosh. Just a little curiosity, like so from your thought, it appears that perhaps in the budget not enough was done to boost the capital market in general. Okay, a general feeling that I'm getting. But again, I'm a novice in the field, so just asking that. I think yesterday the market closed around a percent high. So is it that in
The
spite of
market
this,
closed down
it,
yesterday.
it was down?
Yes. Saturday market was open. Friday it was up before budget.
No, so Saturday it was down, you say?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So then that means the business community has not really accepted it. Okay, fine. Fair enough. So let me now ask Pankaj. Pankaj, you are an economist. So we are expecting some kind of a macro level understanding of the budget from you. What do you think, how the measures that are taken by the government is going to um, increase the GDP, if, or increase the economy, or vice versa? And also, an added question to that is, in the budget speech, the finance minister also mentioned about a lack of 1 lakh crore of revenue which will be foregone because of the income tax rate reduction and all, and slab increase, right? So, what do you think about that 1 lakh crore which is foregone? Is it for real? How is it going to then get compensated? Yeah.
Thank you, Prince. GDP and economy, basically, in current definition of economics, is the same thing. If the GDP is increasing, so everyone assume that economy is going, but ultimately, in eternal sense, it is not true, because due to the increase of GDP, there are a lot of manufacturing activities going to happen. It affects the environment. So the actual parameter of measuring the economy should be the gross national happiness that Bhutan is doing at his own end, and sometimes the United Nations also suggested that the real parameter, a real thermometer to measure the basically economy is the happiness. So, but unfortunately, the global practices to measure the economy is the GDP, and this is basically the Britishers has established this industrial practices, and based on this production of the services and goods, we define how the country is going. Anyway, but the fact is that there are a lot of announcement about the economy, but this 12 lakh announcement has overshadowed all the announcements actually. When today every newspaper is talking about this 12 lakhs, 12 lakhs, 12 lakhs. So this is the fact, but yes, government has done a lot of things for moving the economy towards positive trends. And I believe that this budget is basically in light of and the background of the America current changes, basically an announcement of Trump's and America first policies, and the threat of the putting the tariff on the American. So I can see the basically this budget is more focused on the India first. Because first time in her tenure of this Nirmala Sitharaman, first time she has focused on the middle class. Otherwise, every time we go watch the budget, and after the budget, we just become disappointed. There is nothing in our tax reliefs, middle class tax. There is no any tax rebates or something. So first time, actually, it is a wow feeling when we have heard this announcement to everyone said wow. And it is actually unexpected. Because he will jump like this from 7 to 12. Earlier, we are used to that early 50,000, 1 lakh something. See, increase the some limit. So this 12 lakh is actually a very good announcement, and the tax experts will put light more on this. But what I can see, this 12 lakhs, if you can remember in year 2000, 2001, the maximum exemption limit was 50,000. Tax-free limit was 50,000. And this 12 lakh is almost 24 times, but we have passed 24 years. From 2000, in this century, we have passed 24 years. And this maximum exemption limit is reached 24 times. 50,000 each year, if you add, then 12 lakhs will come. So this 24 times jumps in 24 years is basically big jump. I mean, if you see any income, any salary at 2000, 2001, so there is no 24 times jumps in any yearly income of any government employee. But there is a jump of maximum exemption limit 24 times. So it's basically great and big decisions. Very means, you can say it's a courageous decision. So I congratulate Nirmala Sitharaman. Yes, in terms of economy, if you see where it will go, So there are a lot of good announcement I want to just highlight. There is a Dhan Dhan Yojana. So this basically budget is focused on 4 engines. First time the finance minister explained what is the 4 engine of the country, that is agriculture, MSME, investment and exports. So she has focused on 4 engines and she made a lot of announcement on this 4 engine like Dhan Dhan Yojana, and she switched up 100 districts and 100 districts they will focus on how to make this agri diversity in the crop and how they can make this 100 district as exporter of agricultural produce. Other than this Dhan Dhan Yojana, there is a Makhana board. They have announced the Makhana has a lot of potential in today's lifestyle changes. So Makhana has a great potential, and first time some government has put on focus this Makhana. So this is also a good announcement of Makhana board. Other than this, there is a one great potential and opportunity lies at means each village of India, that is post office. That this post office can be
I think I am not
every
able
village
to.
will have a basically. So what I was saying that means this post office is basically was having a great potential, and no one has thought about this. This can be turned into this global capacity, global you may say logistics center. This post office will help the rural economy, and instead of now only later sending to other part of India, you will see the goods will be moved to across the India. Even internationally, it can be exported. So this post office will play a catalyst role to improve the rural economy, and this is the game changer. This India post office converting into, because there are I think more than 1 lakhs post office, 2.4 lakhs something dark seva. Government has given the data, but it is the game changer like putting blood vessels everywhere, because government has built a lot of good infrastructure connecting the roads to state highway to national highways and expressway, building across the country logistic parks. If these are things is going to be connected with this post office, then there will be huge, you may say the transaction will be possible through this post office. So it's a good move actually, this post office announcement. Other than post office announcement, you see government has announced the national manufacturing mission. So this national manufacturing, first time I can see that government is focused on this manufacturing, and post this American tariff, threat of American tariff. What I can see, the Trump is basically focused on the China, and he wants to make China goods costly. If he do, so there are a lot of potential for India as well. If the China goods is become costlier in comparison to India, then India good will be much cheaper, and India market will get placed in the global economy in comparison to the China, basically in America market. So this basically maybe the golden gate for India to enter into the international and global economy through this. So national manufacturing mission will definitely help the India productions focused on the technology, and there are a lot of BCD reduction in this budget. So I think government has made everything possible to make India, make in India, push the make in India and export to the world. So that's why the government focus is basically on this four engine manufacturing, means MSME, export, investment, agriculture. It will strengthen the basically Indian economy. So I can see Indian economy will go better, and there is increase in GDP. Even the government is expecting less than 7 this GDP rate. But what I believe, the rate will go more than 7, and India will be soon the third largest economy in the world based on the announcement what the government has made. So there is a great hope. Regarding this 1 lakh crore, she said that the government has foregone. I think it is a lighter move. There is no any forward. If you see last year collection, what she has announced is 31 lakh crore, and the projection of 25-26 is 34 lakh crore. So there is anyway after this tax exemption, the 3 lakh crore jump in this tax revenue collection. If there is an increase in 3 lakh crore, then where is the sacrifice of 1 lakh crore? So there is no sacrifice of 1 lakh crore. Basically, if you exempt the tax of 1 lakh crore, this 1 lakh crore will go into the consumer spending or any investment mode. And again, this is investment, this is capital. 1 lakh crore will be the capital. So turnover will be definitely 3 lakh crore, 4 lakh crore, 5 lakh crore. And the cycle will be increased this by this 3 lakh, 4 lakh, 5 crore. There is other indirect taxes on this transaction will compensate. So anyway, it will return in form of GST and something, so that this 31 lakh crore tax collection has reached to 34 lakh crore. So there is no forgo of this any 1 lakh crore of income tax. In the other way, government will earn on this in terms of GST or other taxes on share trading income and other things. Because nowadays, India is basically India, total rural India, even you can say the total common man of India is now the corporate investor. Now we, the corporate people, are working for the rest of India, even for the rural India. Everyone, I think, if you talk to any rural, your any friends at rural area, they all are having some portfolio after the digital infra, and everyone is having share account in their mobile. So everyone is doing 50,000, 1 lakh investment average. I'm saying in my circle, there are a lot of rural friends with me, and everyone, I think, average out there. They have spent 2 lakh, invested 2 lakhs or 2 lakh, 3 lakhs rupees in the share market. So they are enjoying their life, spending time with friends, and we were working for the rest of India. So now everyone is a corporate investor in India. So these all move will help them to make them wealthy, and they will pay the tax on this share income, because this 12 lakh is basically other than some income, capital gain income. So there is a other way of increasing the tax, and I think there is some income tax expert, they can put light on this. The announcement of 12 lakh is for a normal taxpayer, 12.75 the salary class taxpayer, and I think they can get 2 lakh rupees benefit of the house property loan, interest on house property loan. So if they can get 2 lakh loss benefit of interest on housing loan, then this exemption may go to 14.75 lakhs for salary class people who lives in the cities, urban cities, and has taken availed the home loan. So the basic relief limit is not 12.75. As per me, it may go to the 14.75 lakhs, but there is a scope of correction. If any tax expert is here, can correct me. So can we say this exemption can go for urban people who has a home loan is actually not 12.75, it is 14.75. So this is my submission to you, and I have a great hope with this budget. And there are a lot of announcement and infrastructure also. But one interesting thing I have noted in this budget is government has used only 3 times PM Gati Shakti word. So I think because of this, market may have thought that there is no announcement for capital expenditure or infra expenditure. But government has avoided to use PM Gati Shakti word. But I think some 11 lakh crore they have provided for this capital expenditure for infrastructure. Instead of announcement of the word, they focus on the MSME, middle class, and other thing. But there is a provision of capital expenditure. And also government has avoided to use the word Manrega. I have not heard any word in the Manrega in this budget, but government has provided 86,000 crore, the same amount what they have provided in 24-25 for the Manrega. In this budget, many words has not been announced by the finance minister, but you look the fine print, there are a lot of things that will boost the economy. So I find this budget is good for economy. It will strengthen the backbone, that is middle class of India, and they will now start reinvesting their surplus to the market of India. So this is my submission. Thank you, Prince.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Pankaj. Just one point. So you rightly mentioned about that 1 lakh crore, which he said that is foregone. Government doesn't forego anything. Basically what she meant was probably an opportunity lost. So there was an opportunity to tax them, but
Loss in profit is
that
not a
extent.
loss. No, it's not a loss, na? कि हम इतना कमाते और इतना नहीं कमाए.
No,
So
I am
it's like
saying opportunity lost for them. The government to tax for
there
them.
are a lot of opportunity. If you
They will
see,
find it.
there are a lot of you can say there is a vacant land in the India. Someone came and said this is the rate of potential. You can sell and earn it. So what you will say? Loss of opportunity is not a loss actually.
Yeah. So fine. Thank you so much, Pankaj. So now we
No, I want one clarification.
Ah,
Even
yes.
tax people can do. This is home loan interest on home loan. The loss will be additional benefit or not? This is 12 lakhs or 14 lakhs. If we consider the 2 lakh loss on the home loan interest loss, everyone is having home loan interest, na?
So you will be covering the salary part.
Yeah.
So I think he will be
Yeah.
anyways covering that salary part.
Yeah.
So we can pick that up then. So let's move to Mr. Pramod Damankar. As I said, he is the direct tax expert and probably the panelist that the audiences are eagerly waiting to hear from. So let me move this to Mr. Damankar. Is Mr. Damankar visible? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
First of all, thank you, Prince, for taking the public calls. And good morning again to all.
Yeah.
Layman.
Yeah. So you can mix
Yeah.
English or whatever. Yes, that is fine.
Most probably I'll be talking in the English, but then as the audience of this project, maybe
In this
from
speaking.
other-
Yeah.
so that I'll somewhere.
So you can make it English, I think that is better. Make Hindi and English mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Nirmala Ben, for giving us a happy news to all small and middle class taxpayers by enhancing the taxable limit of 7 lakh. So this is basically the very important news at the top of the town. Most of the papers today covered this news that welcomed by the all middle class taxpayers. Friends, I'll be covering there are many small and some changes are there, amendments in the income tax. So I'll be covering by points wise. So 12 lakh rupees is a happy stage, is a welcome stage for the middle class taxpayers. So if you have got a income more than 12 lakh, 15 lakh, 20 lakh, 25 lakhs, then the tax benefit erodes and you come on the same tax that you paid in the last year. There are two conditions for this 12 lakh rupees taxable limit. First thing is that कि आपको रिटर्न जो भरना है वो नए रिजाइन में भरना, तो आपको नए रिजाइन में ही रिटर्न भरना है. If you want to opt for the old regime, there is no 12 lakh rupees tax. The old limit continues. So you have to compulsorily opt for a new regime. And second thing, you have to find it. मेरा सपोज करो मेरा 10 लाख रुपया इनकम है. And if I say कि 12 लाख रुपए का टैक्स लिमिट है, तो I don't want to file the return. It is wrong. Basic minimum taxable limit is 4 lakh. If anyone's income is more than 4 lakh rupees a year, he has to file a tax. अगर आप टैक्स रिटर्न 10 लाख रुपए का फाइल नहीं करोगे, then the man will earn in taking the benefit of 12 lakh rupees tax payment. 12 lakh rupees taxable limit. So these are the two conditions. First thing is that one has to opt for the new regime only, and secondly, he has to file a tax. So government is not absolving a common man in filing the tax return. They want all the data from the person to come in the income tax department site. So that is one thing. The absolutely many people, many many people from the society are welcoming this thing. 12 lakh rupees is a big amount. Frankly and sincerely, we were all expecting tax limit of 10 lakh rupees, but it has been taken to 12 lakh. Standard deduction. If a salaried person, 75,000 rupees standard deduction will be additionally available to this 12 lakh. So for a salaried people, 12,75,000 rupees will be the basic taxable limit for getting up into the tax net. Mind well, there are no deductions much available other than the standard deduction or Section 80A or Section 80JJA. These are available, but Section 80JJA and is available for a business class person, not a salaried people. So there are no deductions available for the salaried class other than the standard deduction. Standard deduction is 75,000 and basic the taxable limit is 12 lakh. Now coming to the second thing, when we are on the taxable limit of 12 lakh rupees, say we take a case. I am not a salaried person. I have got a 5 lakh rupees share capital gain, long-term capital gain or short-term capital gain from a share market. In that case, I will still have to pay the tax. That 12 lakh rupees limit is not applicable for special income like capital gain or income from lottery or income from horse races. These are called a special income. So this 12 lakh taxable limit, although you opt for a new regime, this 12 lakh limit is not applicable to the special income. Say मुझे 6 लाख रुपए का मुझे capital gain हुआ है shares में, then I will have to pay the tax over and over rupees 4 lakh rupees, the minimum taxable limit. उसके ऊपर अगर मेरा tax capital जा रहा है, if I don't have any other income, then I'll cover in the tax rate and the tax applicable at the rate of 12.5% or 15% will be applicable for that. So 6 लाख रुपया मेरा income है. So 4 लाख निकाल के 20,000, 2 lakh पे 10% के 12.5% के हिसाब से 25,000 will be tax payable. So it is clear. If I got a capital gain, share capital gain है मेरा, तो मुझे 12 लाख के नीचे होगा तो भी मुझे टैक्स देना पड़ेगा. So that is a exception to this 12 lakh taxable limit. Now coming to the marginal rate. Say for the salaried people or for a businessman, business class people, my income is say 12 lakh 10,000 rupees. At the 12 lakh 10,000 rupees, the tax comes to 61,000 around. 61,000 के आसपास टैक्स आ रहा है because another consider well 12 लाख के ऊपर जैसे मेरा इनकम जा रहा है मेरा टैक्सेशन स्लैब चालू हो रहा है 4 लाख रुपए से. So 4 से 8 is 5%, 8 से 12%, 12 lakh slab is 10%, 12 से 16 is 15%, 16 से 20 is 20%. Like that, I'll have to pay tax from up to the 12 lakh rupees जो भी आ रहा है वो मिलके मेरा 61,000 रुपए टैक्स जा रहा है. 12 लाख 10,000 अगर इनकम मेरा होता है तो 61,000 रुपए मेरा टैक्स जा रहा है. So I don't have to pay 61,000 rupees. बस 12 लाख के ऊपर जितना मेरा एक्सीडिंग हो रहा है 10,000 रुपया, that will be tax payable. That is a marginal relief available. मेरा अगर 12 लाख 50,000 रुपया इनकम है तो my tax may come around 80,000 rupees. तो मुझे 50,000 टैक्स भरना है, which is exceeding 12 lakh. So that is called a marginal. So marginal relief is available till 12,75,000 rupees. उसके बाद में अपना regular tax. So that is one thing. A minor adjustment in case of a salaried people. छोटा सा adjustment एक उन्होंने किया हुआ है कि any amenity or any benefit given by the employer to his employees other than the salary is called a perquisite. तो perquisite में दो minor changes है. Any benefit or perquisite जिसका इनकम 50,000 के नीचे है उसके लिए वो एप्लीकेबल होता था पहले. Now that 50,000 limit is replaced by the limit that will be decided by the central government. 50,000 लिमिट बहुत ही छोटा लिमिट है, कम लिमिट है. So that the government has welcome minor adjustment is there. So जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट लिमिट तय करेगा उसके ऊपर अगर आपका बेनिफिट जा रहा है, उसके ऊपर अगर आपका सैलरी जा रहा है, तो any benefit or any amenity given by the employer will be taxable, will be added to the. Secondly, medical perquisites में, if a employee goes out of India Then the expenditure incurred on traveling, expenditure incurred on the stay of himself or his family member who are dependent on him. अगर उसका if his gross total income is 2 lakh rupees in a year, बाबा आदम के जमाने का एक प्रोविजन है, if the gross total income is 2 lakh rupees per annum, उसके नीचे अगर होगा तो this entire benefit or entire reimbursement given to the employee is not taxable. Now that 2 lakh rupees is taken out and the central government will declare a new limit above which अगर उसका income है, salary income है, then this benefit, this monetary perquisite value will be added to the salary income. I think that is a welcome amendment. Let us wait for the government announcement in a due time, so that I hope this will be a perquisite, welcome perquisite to the hands of the salary. Friends, then we come for. There are so many small adjustments. Charitable trust, I'll cover first. 2 years back, the government changed the provisions for the charitable trust. And every 5 years, the charitable trust has to apply and get the registrations renewed from the income tax department. Now, government has woken up and has come with a welcome amendment. Now, what the government says? The government says कि जो छोटे charitable trust, जिनका total income, receipts we can say, जिनका total receipts या जिनका total turnover या जिनका total income is less than 5 crore. In last 2 years, preceding 2 years, will have to renew their registration after 10 years instead of 5 years. This is the change in the case of charitable trust, and this is a welcome move because there are so many trusts who are facing the complications in the taxation provisions. So this is a welcome stage. Second, very small amendment is there. If there is any incomplete registration form is the application form is given to the income tax department. For the smaller mistakes or smaller errors in the registration will not be denied because there are so many appeals are pending with the department. They want to use the number of appeals. This is one thing. Third thing is that specified person in case of a charitable trust provisions, the person who pays 50,000 or more to a charitable trust becomes a specified person, and any benefit given to the specified person is taxable in the hands of the charitable trust. This limit of 50,000 is enhanced to 1 lakh. So this is a minor amendment. There. Then about the startups. About the startup, the government came with a welcome provision for the startup. The startup section 80I provided जो भी startup from 1st April 2016 से जो भी startup चालू होगा, start होगा, but before 1/4/25, 1/4/16 से 1/4/26 तक for 10 years they had given a benefit to the startup. 25 तक, 1/4/25. So this was a sunset clause. Up to 31st March 25, they had to go for a production or starting or commencement of the startup. Now this clause, the limit of the 10 years is increased to 15 years. So before 31st March 2030, one has to start or commence his production for a startup. So this is a welcome amendment because we are really looking to the startups to strengthen our country. And what is the benefit? The benefit remains the same. There is no amendment. There is no change in the benefit. The benefit is that for any 3 consecutive years in the 10 years period will attract no tax on the income. So every 3 years, selected by the startup entrepreneur will be non-taxable out of the total span of 10. So this is the amendment in the case of a startup. There is nothing more in the startup. Now, we go to the section 80CCD. This is for the NPS, National Pension Scheme. Basically, this amendment relates to the old regime. As we just seen, there are no deductions available for the new regime. This amendment relates to old regime. So there are, in my opinion, there are some people who have got a say housing benefit or who have got other deductions and got a reasonable income, say 6 lakh, 7 lakh, 8 lakh rupees, and their TDS is deducted by the employer, or they have got a TDS from other income. So to get the refund, the salaried person or other person can opt for a old regime. Otherwise, the old regime is not at all advisable. So in that case, what the a new welcome provision says, the national pension scheme was available to an employee or to any person who contributes for this particular fund run by the central government or their authority. Now, NPS Vatsalya scheme has come. Vatsalya means love and affection to their children. So, this deduction is for contributing to the NPS Vatsalya, and the benefit is the deduction is 50,000 rupees. Conditions are there should not the benefit is available only for the 2 children. The contribution can be made by a parent or guardian or an employer for the employee children. So this is new NPS is there. Then we move to the NSS. One very good welcome provision has come from the government. Some of you may be remembering about there was a national savings scheme. This discontinued from 1st April 1992. Before that, we were contributing to the NSS, National Savings Scheme, and what amount contributed to the NSS was completely deductible from the income. And that, but the condition was that whenever you withdraw from the NSS, it was taxed. Government was thinking for this particular provision for last 15 years. Every budget they were tinkering about this provision. And now, in the month of August, there was a notification to the government that interest on NSS will be stopped from 1st of October 2022. So 1 October 2024 से NSS पे जो 7% interest मिल रहा था, that is stopped. So whatever the balance you may have gotten in NSS account, आपको interest आगे नहीं मिलता. Now the government has come out with a provision. आपको अभी interest भी नहीं मिल रहा है, आप withdraw करेंगे तो भी tax लगेगा. So government has come with a good provision. Whenever you will withdraw the NSS from the NSS, उसका जो tax लगने का जो provision था, that has been taken off, that has been deleted. So if NSS का withdraw करोगे, so there will be no tax at the time of withdrawal as per the original provisions. So people will save good amount of money. Last year also, one of my clients withdrew the 20 lakh rupees, and there was a TDS by the post office. We had to pay the tax at the 30% rate. So 6 lakh rupees तो उसको उसी में गया, 20 lakh रुपए withdraw किया तो. So it is a welcome amendment. People will save a good amount of money. Now another harassing provision was there about the TDS at the high. TDS at 20% was applicable for a person who has not filed his return. Abhi, I am a person, say, Mr. Prince is a chartered accountant, and I have given him the work, a consultancy work, and he has not filed his return. So instead of 10% under section 194J, tax मुझे deduct करना था 10%. But as he has not filed his return, I am deducting his tax at 20%. लेकिन मुझे कैसे मालूम कि प्रिंस ने फाइल किया रिटर्न के लिए? I don't have any access to his both private and personal data. When we go to the software of our TDS, एक वेलकम फीचर वहां पे आ रहा था कि प्रिंस का अगर मैं पैन नंबर एंड नेम प्रोवाइड करता हूँ तो वहां पे इनऑपरेटिव एक वर्ड आ रहा है, एंड दे डोंट अलाउ, द सॉफ्टवेयर डजंट अलाउ अस टू गो बियॉन्ड अनलेस वी डिडक्ट 20%. तो सॉफ्टवेयर उन्होंने एक गुड प्रोविजन बना के रखा. So but how I can know that Prince has not filed his return? So now the government has accepted suggestions from various institutions, including our CA institution, and they have deleted this provision. Now 20% tax, higher tax DS will be applicable only if a person doesn't have any PAN number or he has got an invalid PAN. Then the 20% tax will be applicable. All other things, he has not filed the return, then also normal tax will be deducted. So this is a good provision for that. Another government is watching about the crypto assets. Now the government want to control it. So how they can control? As मालूम है कि 30th April and 31st May को पूरे साल के whatever the transaction that the institution has done in a specified format has to be reported to the income tax department. So by this new provision, crypto platform जो भी सौदे करेगा, जो भी transactions करेगा, on behalf of their clients, will have to be reported to the income tax department in a specified format, in a specified way, with a उसके लिए जो भी rules regulations आएंगे, उसके हिसाब से they will have to submit the report to the income tax department. So this is starting of controlling the crypto transactions by the central government. I'll speed up fast because time limit is there.
Or maybe what you can do is that there is that one important amendment with respect to house property which was done.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
Yeah.
You can pick that one up because I think as far as the audience is concerned, they will be more interested in the individual taxation. So just let's take that one.
Yeah.
And maybe one day we can have a separate just income tax related podcast.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. So what? Thanks, Prince. You just referred about the house property. Pankaj Bhai also referred about the house property losses. So first, हम लोग clear कर लेते हैं कि house property का जो loss है, for interest on house property, that benefit is available only in the old regime. That benefit is not available in the new regime. तो मेरा अगर 2 लाख रुपया interest है, now, so that is not allowable in the new regime. That is allowable only in the old regime. That is very clear. Second thing, as he was telling me, there is a small amendment in the house property. Say I have got 3 properties, 3 houses. एक Bangalore में है मेरा मकान है. I stay in Mumbai and I have got a flat in Delhi also. I am staying in Mumbai because of my business or because of my job. बाकी 2 मकान जो है वहाँ पे एक में मेरे पेरेंट्स रह रहे हैं, दूसरा मेरा दिल्ली का मकान है. अभी पहले कैसे होता था कि if I got a मुंबई का मकान हो तो I am staying over there, it is a self-occupied property, SOP is there. I got a Bangalore flat is there, दिल्ली का मकान. Now the government says कि any 2 houses will be accepted. तो दूसरा जो मेरे पेरेंट्स रहते बैंगलोर में, उनके मकान का जो मेरा डीम्ड वैल्यू रेंटल वैल्यू मुझे इनकम ऐड करना पड़ता था, दैट इज नाउ दैट प्रोविजन इज नॉट देयर, बट थर्ड मकान जो मेरा है वहाँ पे डीप रेंटल वैल्यू विल बी एडेड टू द इनकम. If there is any benefit or rent received from that, that will be naturally added to the. That is a small amendment. So there are 2-3 more also. As if the prince allows us, we can continue.
No, sorry, direct tax is something which, most of us are chartered accountants, so we would love to hear that. But I think we will have to be, cognizant of the time, right? So, thanks a lot. I think if anybody has any question on the individual taxation, I'm talking about individual taxation. So you can just ask Mr. Damankar.
Friends, you'll have to allow me to leave. I have another call. I've already overshot the time. So,
Okay.
The excuse.
So you want to drop off?
Yes.
Or do you want to take one question which I had? How much time do you have, Suraj?
I've already overshot the time, so I can have a quick answer. So,
yeah. So no worries. So we are done with each panelist this time on what they had to say. There are some general questions. I'll just pick up the one which I would want Suraj to answer. Now, Suraj, we know that there is a creation of Center of Excellence in AI, right? And I think it's a very good step. Do you think more needs to be done on AI in this front?
yeah. So, the chatter around AI has gone up over the last week. In offices, on social media, coffee conversations, water cooler conversations, thanks to DeepSeek. Now, what has really happened is DeepSeek has suddenly become the Sharmaji ka beta. We have all become very patriotic, saying, "Oh, China has done this." We weren't so bothered as long as ChatGPT did whatever, right? Because China has done this. Now we're all clued on, and we're telling. Social media is full of people saying, "Oh, India can get this done really fast." We have done this with ISRO has done this, VSSA, BARC has done this, and so on and so forth, right? See, the real fact with while it's a great thing that they've done this set up the Center of Excellence, I think the real problem that we need to solve in India is not really that of investment; it is that of talent. Our the real contribution that government can do. So if you look at multiple reports, you have a NASSCOM report which says 70% of the tech resources, and this came up a couple of years ago, would soon become unemployable over the next 5 years, right? You have, I think there is an IDC, there is a report by the Ministry of Human Resource, which actually talks about 60 to 70% of our graduates being unemployed, right? And this is from the ministry. This came up sometime in November in 2024. Now, this is the problem that we really need to solve. It's not really about investments. AI is such a deep influence on a lot of areas. There would be private investments really coming in. But for this to happen in India, what we need to do is develop our talent. And this is the right time to do because it's still at a very nascent stage. I was at one of these AWS conclaves a week ago, where IDC actually spoke about a very important data point. They said it's only about 26 companies in India which are actually working on AI, of which only 23 of them are at just POC stage. And only 3 of them have actually gone into production, right? So technically what we are saying is huge opportunity. This is the time for us to really invest, both in terms of resource investment and in terms of talent development. The biggest contribution that government can do in the field of AI is to make sure that we develop talent which can actually contribute towards building of models which are relevant at a global scale. Do we need to build another LLM? DeepSeek is one of those most prominent LLMs. Do we need to build another LLM? Not necessarily. But can we build an LLM? Of course we can. But the real value comes in building SLMs which will solve domain-specific problems. And to a large extent, if you look at DeepSeek, what DeepSeek has done is exactly this: not really create a generic expert, but create multiple domain experts. And they have actually optimized it. I don't know if I answered the question the right way, but maybe the one sentence answer is AI investment should actually happen with people than just putting up an infrastructure.
No, I think, yeah, I mean, yes, of course you have answered, and just it doesn't make sense by just blindly deploying money and infrastructure unless you actually, invest on creating the minds who can actually deliver them. So yes, bang on, Suraj. Do you have 10 more minutes?
Oh, Prince, I'll have to move off. The others have joined the other call, so I'll just need to call it off. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure interacting.
Prince, I have another meeting at 1 p.m. So 2 to 3 minutes.
So we have 3 more.
So just I want to add the Suraj conversation. Yeah. I want to add one point in the Suraj conversations. Now there is no time left to fight with AI. We have to adopt AI. We have to live with AI. So the soon we will adopt it, we will beat it. Otherwise, we will be left in the world backward. So AI is going to grab entire actually words. What I can understand. You should keep one separate session on AI. That's my suggestion to you. Yeah.
So let me do one thing. I understand there is a positive of time, and you both anyways will have to drop. Anybody? So I will be skipping the other questions that I had. Anybody else want to add anything? We have 1 more minute, and before we wrap up.
Prince, can I add here? Because this is another topic, right? Sorry?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. So again, see, AI and Suraj has rightly sort of pointed out that investments in AI is not a problem, right? It's the way we are handling it, because you know China. If you look at China, what they have done is they have made the adversities go in their favor, right? So they have when the US cut them out from Google ecosystem, now they have their own one, and they have their own OS now, right? Huawei has its own OS now. So what they did is they converted the adversity. Same way when US put ban on all sort of high-end chips on them, it seems like they have used not so high-end chips to develop this DeepSeek, right? And then how they have done it. If you look at last 7-8 years, and then we keep one of the things which I have highlighted in the past, that we keep criticizing China, right? But what we don't learn from them is how to change track when the world is changing. They were doing manufacturing when no one was doing it, and then now they almost 6-7 years back they changed their track from being a manufacturer, highly polluting country, to going into the future that was getting into sort of cutting edge technology. Right, so they started acquiring assets which will be used in EV. They started acquiring knowledge which can be used in machine learning, in artificial intelligence. So from a government perspective, what they have done is this is just a first step, right? It means creating a center of excellence, just a first step. You need and AI is like computers. So you forget about being used on. It's like saying in 90s and sitting in 1990 saying that I will use computer. Yes, I'm going to use computer. Yeah, 2025. Without computer, we are not doing anything. So it's not about that we are going to use AI or we are not going to use AI. It's about being leadership in that. Otherwise, we will be importing the technology, right? We'll be importing the same stuff from outside. And how can we do that? Yes, this is the first big step. First step, I would not say big step, first step. But the government will also have to sort of push the corporates to actually invest in AI, not in the uses of it, right? Today, there are two things which we are talking about. One is use of AI in running the business, and second is developing new things within the AI system, right? So they will have to push the corporates also to invest there, because when they did Made in India, so many corporates have put so many industries which are just and they are now that our cost of production is getting at par with China on a lot of stuff, right? So it's a first step, I would say. Secondly, as Suraj pointed out rightly, that we need people, right? Or do we just not need people who are outsourcing agents in Infosys or TCS, right? That we need, and that's where it's a different discussion altogether. Where how we can do that is a different sort of discussion. But I would just say only it's a first step. We need to do so many things going forward, and that's how it's going to be possible.
Fair enough, Santosh. Thank you so much for that insight. I think with that note, we will end today's panel discussion on Union Budget 2025. There probably is more to come, taking just specific areas, for example, specific areas that is individual taxation, other areas as well, depending on how the fine print look like of the finance bill. With that, thank you so much, the panelists.
Thank you. Thank you, Prince.
Thank you, Prince.
Pleasure
Thanks
meeting
all.
you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Take 1 second.